The conference hall was thick with tension, the kind of air you could slice with a protocol binder. It was one of those high-level EU summits where every delegate had a backstory, every handshake had subtext, and every chair had history. It was Brussels, the heart of European diplomacy, a place where decisions were made that shaped economies, redrew borders, and tested alliances. The leaders who walked into that room weren't just politicians, they were the architects of a continent's future. And into this room walked Angela Merkel. No entourage. No grand entrance, no polished entourage clearing the way, no cameras flashing. Just a woman in a beige blazer, clutching a leather folder and walking with the calm efficiency of someone who knew exactly what she was there to do. She didn't need to dominate the room. She was the room, but nobody had realized it yet. At that time, Merkel was still somewhat new on the world stage. Germany knew her. Politicians were beginning to take note, but to many foreign leaders, she was just that quiet woman from Germany. A physicist turned politician with a soft voice and no appetite for spectacle. And that's exactly why they underestimated her. In the flurry of arrivals, a French delegate glanced at her, nodded politely, and then immediately began looking around for the real German Chancellor. An aide from another country breezed past her and assumed she was someone's assistant, asking her to fetch a folder from the press table. Even one of the junior officials, clearly in a panic about arriving late, actually tried to hand Merkel a translation headset, assuming she was a simultaneous interpreter. She took it, paused, and then, with a small smile, placed it neatly on the table, her table, before sitting down at the head of it. No words. No rebuke. Just a small act of calm correction that said everything without saying a thing. This wasn't a one-off moment. This was a pattern. Again and again at summits, G7 meetings, UN panels, Merkel would walk into rooms filled with alpha egos, and half the men wouldn't even clock her as someone who mattered. And that was her superpower. She never chased the spotlight. She let the spotlight wander, and then quietly made sure the floor beneath it was hers when it landed. As the summit progressed, the room began to shift. Slowly, gradually, one by one, the assumptions crumbled. When the first economic forecast discussion began, Merkel's voice entered the room, steady, measured, analytical. She spoke with the precision of a physicist and the strategic insight of a seasoned negotiator. She referenced GDP, labor mobility, inflation control, and cross-border coordination from memory. No grandstanding, no notes, just calm authority. Heads turned. A few chairs subtly shifted toward her side of the table. Side glances became attentive gazes. That same French delegate who had looked past her earlier, now leaning in, taking notes. It was a shift that played out over years, not just moments. Angela Merkel never tried to be the loudest voice. She was never the one pounding the table, never the politician with flashy speeches or fiery declarations. She didn't do theatrics. She didn't perform power. She held it, so steadily, so unshakably, that people only realized how much she had once it was already in her hands. While male leaders postured and chest-thumped, Merkel built coalitions. Quietly, persistently. When the Eurozone was on the brink of collapse, it was Merkel who engineered stability. When the refugee crisis hit Europe like a tidal wave, it was Merkel who stood firm, opening Germany's doors, not because it was popular, but because it was right. Her decision to admit over 1 million refugees didn't just change policy. It changed history. And yet, through all of this, the moments of underestimation kept happening. Even in her second and third terms, Merkel would still occasionally get the side glance at international functions, a waiter asking if she was with one of the delegations. A young security officer once tried to redirect her backstage at a global summit, not realizing the woman he was steering was headlining the stage. She never reacted with offense, never pulled rank, because she knew the quiet truth. Power doesn't need to announce itself. It just needs to show up and stay. There's a famous photograph from a G7 meeting in 2018. The image shows Merkel, standing with both hands planted firmly on a table, leaning slightly forward, eyes locked on Donald Trump. Around her are the leaders of France, Japan, the UK, all watching her. And Trump, arms crossed, leaning back, smirking. But Merkel, calm, centered, in control. That image went viral for a reason. Because it captured the essence of her leadership. No theatrics, no fireworks, just unshakable presence in the middle of chaos. She served for 16 years. Through 4 U.S. presidents. Through Brexit. Through global economic collapses and resurgences. She led Germany through multiple crises. Not with fear, but with facts. Not with charisma, but with competence. When she announced she wouldn't seek re-election, the world reacted like a gravitational shift had occurred. The Economist called her the indispensable European. Barack Obama called her the closest partner I had internationally. Countless headlines called her the most powerful woman in the world. But you know what she called herself? A scientist doing her job. Angela Merkel didn't need to remind people who she was. She knew who she was. And eventually, so did everyone else. So the next time someone walks into a room and doesn't match your expectation of power, remember this. Power doesn't always strut. Sometimes it walks in quietly, puts down a folder, and takes its seat at the head of the table.